We turn now to the significant escalation of aggression in the Middle East. Over the weekend, the USA joined Israel in bombing sites in Iran linked to nuclear activity. Iran retaliated with missiles and drone strikes targeting the Israeli cities of Tel Aviv and Haifa. Now, the American involvement came just 4 days after President Donald Trump had said he would take at least a fortnight to decide on action against Iran. It also contradicts his earlier statement that the US would not be entering into any wars in the region. To reflect on these latest developments, I'm joined on the line by Naeem Jeenah, who is a senior researcher at the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection. Thank you so much for your time and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pippa.
How much of a surprise was this? We're hearing that some, perhaps many in Trump's own government didn't even know that the US involvement was about to happen or didn't know until after the first missiles had fell. Were you and other commentators like you surprised to see America getting involved this quickly?
Yes, especially after, as you said, President Trump promised that Iran would have up to 2 weeks to do what we're not really clear about they should be doing. But, within 2 days thereafter, attacking. And we now know that while those planes were in the air, he was saying the same thing to reporters, that they have up to 2 weeks.
Okay, so the timing obviously catching a lot of people by surprise. What about the targets, the 3 Iranian targets which were hit? Naeem, can you explain to us what their significance is and what we know about how badly they were impacted?
So firstly, of course, attacking nuclear installations in any form is banned under international law. So all 3 of those attacks are illegal under international law. The three installations, nuclear enrichment installations, the biggest one, Fordo, is the one where much of the enriched uranium has been stored, about 80 to 90 meters underground, and the U.S. is the only country in the world that possesses bombs to be able to penetrate. Well, their bombs penetrate up to 60 meters underground, and so that raises the question of what kind of damage was done. There's a lot of speculation that Fordo wasn't destroyed. Number one, because that deep, and number 2, that the Iranians, knew that something would happen after Israel attacked them just over a week ago, and had moved the enriched uranium and some of the equipment out of Fordo and the Isfahan and Natanz to safer places. So right now we don't know the extent of the damage, and we don't know whether any nuclear equipment, uranium, was actually damaged.
Naeem, let's talk about the other thing we don't know, which is what the next steps are going to be in response to these developments. And 2 things to look at here. Firstly, you've said unequivocally that what the US did was out of sync with international law. So we need to look at consequences for America. But I think more urgently, what are the possible next moves within the Middle East region? Both Israel and the US framing these actions as a security move, an attempt to stop a bully nation, to stop them escalating their nuclear capabilities, a threat to regional security. Regional security doesn't look too good right now. What are the possible next moves from Iran and any of its likely allies?
So in terms of legal moves, nothing really. I mean, you can have a Security Council debate. The US will just veto it. Nothing will come of that. They're not signatories to the Rome Statute. You can't take them to the ICC. But other actions, so there's a few options available for Iran. I mean, they have said they will respond, and it's when you're in that position, you have to respond. I think Iran loses more, both in terms of its population and its reputation more generally, if it doesn't respond. The forms of those response, one possibility is that they come to some agreement with the Americans about attacking some or other American base and saying, okay, we're done, as the Americans said after the attack on those 3 installations. The other is that they go further. I mean, the Iranian parliament had a debate yesterday and voted that they should close the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
That strait, which is controlled by Iran, through which 20% or 25% of the world's oil passes. They could do that. The other is that they've said they have the option of attacking American bases, and the U.S. has Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait. And if that happens, then we will really have a regional war. So the possibilities are quite scary at the moment, unless there's some way in which a diplomatic solution is found. But Iran right now doesn't trust any diplomatic solution. They were in the middle of a diplomatic process with the Europeans when America bombed, in the middle of a process with the US when Israel bombed them.
So the diplomatic way forward seeming unlikely at this point. The other outcome, which Trump and some voices in the US and Israel are saying, would be an entire toppling of the Iranian government at its most extreme. Naeem, just in closing, can we maybe talk about the potential ramifications of that and the likelihood of that? Because we've seen before where change of regime in places like Libya and Iraq has left a hole from which all kinds of fresh hell has emerged. Any comments on the likelihood of regime change in Iran and what might follow should that be the case?
It's highly unlikely. I mean, the Iranians have rallied behind the flag, even those who are critical of the regime. The only other option is a ground invasion by the US. That's not going to work. It's they've not won any of those that they've tried, and frankly, if the Iranian regime is really under threat, like with the ground invasion, then the whole region will really go to hell. I mean, Iran has the capacity to destroy cities in the region if they want to.
Naeem Jeenah, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Our apologies for a slightly patchy line on that interview, but I hope you were able to follow the gist of it. Naeem is a senior researcher at the Mapungubwe Institute for Strategic Reflection.